عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
إذا أنا نحب نمسك بروغرام ويحكي على المراقبة.
مش طلع حاجات.
مش طلع بالإنجليزي. بس على أساس يعني واحد راقب فيه. أنا بنتي حاجة.
وانتش باش تديرهم باراليل لازم تتعلم. أنا كان جونيور.
أعرف إنه باراليل. أخرج في دورات الليل ولا الويكاند.
عندك ويكاند وعندك تخرج في الليل وتمشي تفطر وتمشي تصلي وتمشي تستريح تمشي تقضي قضيتك. تخدم لهني باش تشد خدمة واحدة نفس النهار كامل. خدمة واحدة نهار كامل تشد نفس باش تقعد بروجرام نهار كامل ولا تشد رابور نهار كامل بدل.
هو اللي قال لي تشد رابور نهار كامل.
ما هي أنا هكذا. بدش ياكلك من البركة. خطك هذا. خطك ما شاء الله. بركة.
هو اللي بيصير.
لا والله تحكم والله ما شاء الله حلو. قال لك زيت وينهم النيميرو في السيارة؟ وين انت منين جبته؟ في السيارة زي يعمل من عرفاتي حتى نمر فايز بدلي عليه قلت له هيك برسم ما دوش يعمل هو يعمل ريدكسيون تاع انت تخدم على اسباس اكس مثلا يعمل لك الريدكسيون للاسباس نتاعك على ايجريك مثلا يعمل بروجيكسيون على الايجريك بتوصل الايجريك تبدا اقل من اكس هذا زي كان اي يبدل عليها حتى المره الفايته قلت له راني مستمتع بها
انا مكتوب بالي الملموس وكنت انا في السيرة كنت اللي يدير ما قرأت ما قرأت
هيك
قلت انا ما عرفتش والله قلت قلت هذا قال كونفورجون كونفيان على هذا
بس الفيسبوك هذا شنو هذا ريموف قال لك نحى الجو هو قالها لك ولا
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Jason Delavan. I'm the COO of Staiku, and I'm going to give you a 1-hour demonstration and presentation on MyBodee, which is a scanning system. Today we're going to focus on fitness and health, wellness-related features. Yesterday we had a presentation on the apparel side of things, how we can use body scanning to create custom clothing. If you want more information, you can always email us at info@staiku.com, and I'll put that email address in the chat in a minute. Just want to mention, please keep your microphone on mute during the presentation, just to avoid confusion. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat window, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop so you can see everything. And I'll keep the chat open here. All right, so let me go briefly over what we're going to talk about today. If I can get my mouse to work. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of how the scanner works. I have a video that we recorded a couple of days ago that will show the process of scanning. We can talk about the hardware and the software. And then we'll go into the software itself, and I'll give you an overview of the features and the tools in the software. Those of you who were in yesterday's session, this will be a bit of a review. But once we're done with that, we'll head into the fitness-related tools, how we can track body composition, set some weight loss goals, etc. And then into health, where we can see what our risks are depending on our anthropometric measurements. So it's going to be about a 1-hour session, and I think we should go ahead and just get started. So let's do it. I'm going to pop up a video here. I'm going to play this video and talk over it, but there is a link to the YouTube version of this, which has voiceover and everything. It just doesn't play well on a webinar, so I will copy paste that into the chat for you. But I'm going to go ahead and play it here, and I'll do sort of my own live narration of it. So let's take a look. All right, here we go. All right, so what I'm describing here is the basic setup for the scanner. It's very simple. There are only two components. We have a turntable, which is about 24 inches in diameter, weighs about 20 pounds, and can be powered by 110 or 220. And then we have a sensor, which we've mounted on a stand that we've built specifically for this sensor. This is a Microsoft Connect V2. It's the latest sensor from Microsoft, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after the video. But what I'm basically going to do here is set the sensor up about 4 feet away from the front of the turntable. And I'm just sort of eyeballing it here. It doesn't need to be exact. And because of the wide field of view of this sensor, we can actually be pretty close. So the overall footprint of this scanning setup is about 6 feet by 5 feet, all told. So we're going to switch now to the software. And unfortunately, I launched the wrong video. Hang on one second. Let me open up the other half of that. I apologize. Sorry about that. I grabbed the wrong piece. Here we go. So let's pick up from here. This will play for me. All right. So we've launched the software now that the hardware is set up, and the first thing that we see is a calibration screen. And what this screen is for is to remove the background objects from the area of the scan. You can see the blue area there where the turntable is. That's the region that we want to scan. So when we push calibrate, we're actually sort of erasing the rest of the objects so that all we see in the scan is the area above the turntable. So it's a very simple calibration process. It takes only a few seconds. The next step is to enter in our customer information. So we put in their vitals, their email, their height, weight, age. We use this information to determine health and fitness metrics. Next, we have some instructions on what not to do, some information about clothing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then we get to the scanning view. So I'm going to have a subject stand on the turntable now. And she's going to try to match the pose that's shown on the view, feet spread apart and arms a little bit out from the body with the hands and fists. And once she's set, we'll go ahead and start capturing. The capture process takes approximately 30 to 40 seconds. And we end up capturing about 600 frames of data. And that's important because as somebody is standing there, even though people are very good at standing still, they are breathing in and out. There might be a very slight sway in their body, and those 600 frames get averaged out across the entire registration and the mesh creation. So we end up with a very good, accurate shape of the person's body. We end up with a 3D mesh, which I'll show you after this demo, after this video. So she's going to go around. Like I said, it takes between 30 and 40 seconds. Some turntables a little bit faster or slower. And when we're done, I'll stop it. The computer will process it, and then it'll show up in our software to be measured and analyzed. All right. So you can see it loading now into our software. Our vitals are there. And that's where we're going to take over from the video. All right, so I wanted to show a few bits of information about the hardware itself. I have our tech spec sheet here, which I'll leave up for a couple of minutes so that you can get an idea of the technical specifications for the scanner. Like I said, it's about 6 feet by 5 feet in dimension, and really that's just the space that we need to be able to perform a scan. Because we're using a Connect V2, our field of view that we're working with is 70 degrees, which means we can put the sensor quite close to the person and still capture their entire body. We're actually partners with Microsoft, and we're in their early adopter program for sensors. And so when this sensor came out earlier this year, we were one of the very first companies to be able to get it and to use it. So kind of gave us a head start. And we've discovered in our analysis that this sensor in particular is 30 to 40% more precise than other depth sensors on the market, which is pretty impressive. Our precision for this sensor for body measurements is about 1/10 of an inch, 0.15 inches. So it's quite good. We do support other sensors, and all of these sensors use a technology that uses infrared light to capture depth information. What you were seeing on the screen when the video was playing as the woman rotated around on our platform was depth information being captured by the sensor. Infrared light went out and the depth data came back. Because of that, we don't have, the technology just uses light, so it doesn't look through clothing, which means that if you're going to scan someone, you will need to have them wearing form-fitting clothing. So for women, that would be yoga pants or leggings and a bra or sports bra. For guys, that could be bike shorts. Really, we want to see the full shape of the body and not get distracted by the clothing. So that is one requirement. Also, because we're using infrared light, this sensor works in most indoor setups, but not in full daylight because there's a lot of infrared light in sunlight. That's how you get a tan. So we do recommend that you scan out inside in an enclosed space away from windows, no mirrors in front of the sensor, and obviously having enough space. All right, so that's the basic specs. If you have more questions about that, just type them into the chat window and I can address them at the end of the session. I'm going to go ahead and start up the software now, and let's take a look at some scans. So I'm going to click Open. And what we see here are profiles that are organized by email address, which show the number of scans that the person has, right? So one of the beauties of this tool is you can actually scan people multiple times over time and then track their changes. And that's very important for measuring progress, let's say with a trainer at a gym, or if you want to see a before and after in your health related activities. So I'm going to choose this subject here. We have 2 scans, one in July and one in October. So I'll go ahead and load that up. All right. So just to give you an overview of the software, we have 2 panes, right? On the left side, we have our details and our profile information and all of our various tools for different industries. On the right side, we have a viewport that shows the 3D model, and there have been some measurements that have been automatically extracted. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a few of the tools on the right first. One of the great tools about built into MyBodee is the option to show both scans at the same time. So if I click split screen, I can see here on my left I have the scan from July. On my right I have the scan from October. And as I click through here, you can kind of see on the left that these vitals are changing a little bit because as the person lost weight, she lost a couple of pounds from July to October, these are getting stored with the scan. I can turn these together to analyze shape before and after. If I have more than a couple of scans, they'll all show up in this pull-down list here, and I can choose between them so I can set whichever one I want for the left view and whichever one I want for the right view. This software is also touch capable, so I have a touch screen with me here. I'm going to go ahead and touch some of these measurements, and I can see that, let me close split screen here, make it easier. The value of the measurement is showing with the highlighted measurement, right? Now, on the left pane, we have some tools to help us look at this a little bit more closely. You can see here, profile has her profile information. Body measurements actually shows the values of the scan that I'm looking at. So I can touch it either on the scan itself or in the measurement list here. And then charts and graphs is actually going to show me the way that the measurements have changed over time. So between July and October, I can see the difference in the measurements. So it's a really great way to analyze before and after, or take a look at what's changing as somebody is getting scanned. If I want to see things a little more clearly, I have a see-through option, so I can see how the measurement was calculated. Additionally, I can take custom measurements as well. So if there are measurements here that I don't see that I need, I can actually click the girth tool and draw a circumferential measurement. Click to finish it, and it'll show up in my list here. Same thing with length measurements. I can do a point-to-point measurement if I need to calculate a length and finish it. Then if I want to change the names, I can actually type in here. So let's call this one Jason's girth, and it shows up in the list. I want to talk a little bit about how we derive these measurements. This is not by chance that all these measurements appeared. Actually, what we're doing, just like when somebody needs to take a measurement of a person using a tape, they're looking for points on the body that define regions that can be used for measurement, right? So you can see here, I've zoomed in, turned on see-through. I have all these little orange markers. These markers represent parts of the body that we've defined or we've found from the scan through our heuristics algorithms. So you can see here we've got our shoulder tips, the top of the head, our bust points, our hips. And the measurements are actually using those points to figure out where to go. So you can see here that the chest measurement crosses through the average of the bust points. This measurement is actually showing how it crosses through the hips. Actually, that one's the one I created myself, so it's not really using those points. But you can kind of see how by taking a look at the feature points on the body, we can determine where measurements should go, and that gives us the consistency in determining the measurements. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to our fitness tools. Let's take a look at our agenda here. So far, we've taken a look at how the hardware works and how to do a scan, and we've looked at the software. We've done an overview of the tools in the viewport and our basic tools for calculating measurements, taking measurements. Let's move now into our fitness section. So I'm going to click up here to the fitness tab. And on the left, you can see that we're determining lean versus fat mass every time we scan. So over the course of these two scans, we've got a trend line here that's showing that she's lost a little bit of weight, and her fat mass for the current scan is displayed on the left in a pie chart. Below, you can see some rankings. Based on industry standards, we've determined that she's on the high end of average in her fitness level, and compared with other people, she's in the 10th percentile. So based on national averages, maybe she has a little bit of fitness work to do. So how do we do that? How do we achieve those goals? That's where this fat loss calculator comes in. So you can see here that we've got some sliders that can be set to determine how much we want to lose, what body fat percentage we want to end up at, and to achieve the ranking that we're looking for. So let's put her in the fit category, which means that she needs to lose 13 pounds of fat to get down to about a 24% body fat rate. Based on her activity level, we're going to end up with a caloric deficit. So let's say that she's very ambitious. We're going to put her at moderately active, 1.5 pounds per week. And down at the bottom here in results, we can see that she will, if she follows this activity level and follows this caloric deficit on the right here, she's going to end up achieving her goal on January 26, 2015. So pretty ambitious goal. But let's look at this caloric deficit a little bit more closely. When we click on caloric expenditure, we can see that we've got her moderately active setting, which is 3 to 5 days per week of exercise. And we can slide this around if we want to back that off a little bit. Based on her height, weight, other anthropometric measurements, we know that her RMR, or her resting metabolic rate, is 1,483 calories per day. This is the amount of calories that she burns by just being alive without any of this extra activity. However, when we add in this moderately active lifestyle, we see that her daily caloric expenditure comes out to about 2,600 calories per day. She's going to need to eat, if she wants to not change anything about herself, she's going to need to eat 2,600 calories to break even at this activity level. Now, in order to meet her fat loss goals, we recommend that she actually eats about 1,850 calories because of that deficit that we talked about before. So in order to achieve her deficit goals, she needs to eat 750 calories or burn 750 calories per day extra, which means that she should keep her caloric intake under 1,860 calories. Okay. Now, think about this from the point of view of a fitness trainer. Somebody comes in, we scan them, we get a baseline metric, we set some nutrition goals, some fitness goals using these tools here, and then they come back. You know, they get trained every few weeks, they come, they get scanned, and over time, we'll have this trend line grow. These data points will actually show the progress of the person's fitness as they go on. This is a great tool for personal trainers, for gym owners. It's way more convenient than a dunk tank for determining body fat percentage, but it has the precision of a DEXA scan. So you can imagine the power of this, where somebody just shows up at the gym for their regular training session, they get scanned as part of the process, takes about 5 minutes, and then they move on, and you get all this information about how to improve. I also wanted to mention that there are actually a couple of universities, Tufts University and one of the Cal States, that are doing a validation study with our body fat and body composition metrics here, and showing the precision and the accuracy of our results compared to a DEXA scan. So soon we should be having very good validation that this is a much more convenient, just as accurate and precise way of determining body fat. All right, like I mentioned before, if you have any questions about this section, go ahead and type them into the chat, and we'll get to those at the end here. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the health tools next. So let's switch over to that tab. So here's health. All right. We can see here that we have anthropometric, what we call anthropometric risk assessment tools for central obesity. We use information about waist to hip ratio, waist circumference, waist shape, as well as being able to look at the shape of a person as they change over time in the viewports to determine health risks. Looking at the tools in this tab here, we can see we've got waist shape, including area and length width measurements. Her waist measurement's coming out to 33.72. We're probably using this one here, yeah, for this scan. And we have, again, our history, so we can track how the waist measurement is changing over time. Down below, we have waist circumference, which we're measuring her risk of disease based on this value, and we have her put at moderate risk. The waist to hip ratio is actually right on the border between low risk and moderate risk here. Looking at risk analysis, what we see is based on this risk level, we have a certain likelihood of diseases. Using anthropometric measurements, we can actually determine how many times more likely someone is likely to suffer from certain diseases. And we can see here that this subject is 1.3 times more likely to suffer from cancer, 1.6 times more likely to suffer from cardiovascular disease, etc. And what do we do about that? Again, what we have here are risk reduction calculator, which will show us ways, basically as we lose weight or we change our shape and this waist measurement goes down, our likelihood for disease will also go down. So we can set a value here, maybe put her in the normal range. She's pretty close, so let's put her at, let's say 1 inch. Let's put her into the low risk. So to get down into the low risk where she has an equal chance of these diseases as anybody else who's fit, she'll need to lose about 4.5 inches on that waistline. And with in our weight loss clinics or our medical spas where we're actually working to improve somebody's health and shape and well-being, we'll have a program set up to be able to do this. It's important here that the point is that these are key measurements that are tied in with health risk, and we can track change over time to improve somebody's health and well-being. And because we're using this and we have all this information about measurements and shape, we actually have a lot of different uses for this tool. It's not just for weight loss clinics, but it could be for physicians, cosmetic physicians who want to improve somebody's appearance. So we can show a before and after. We can show how much girth is going to grow or shrink before and after surgery. So there's a lot of really interesting features that can come from body scanning and from extracting measurements. The final piece of this software that I want to explain is sharing the results. How do we get this information in the hands of the customer after a training session or in the hands of the doctor to be able to make a consultation with a customer? There's a few ways we can share these values. I'm going to go ahead and click export here, and you can see that we can actually send these values out in a variety of different ways. We've got CSV files, which are Excel-compatible spreadsheet files that can be used to record and store those data points, those measurements, the body fat values. We can do them on average, or we can do them individually. We can take screenshots and pictures of the shape of the body and save those out as images to share with someone by email. We can also do a PDF, which is a way to combine all the information that we've discussed today into one easy-to-use file. I actually exported one here, which I can show you. And what you can see here is that we've got a PDF file with customer information on the first page, all of their measurements, including several body fat percentage calculations, and then all of the measurements, some outline views to determine shape. For instance, we want to see if they've got a drop shoulder or not, or how erect their posture is. Some screenshots showing front view and side view. All the measurements specifically have their thumbnails. And at the end here, we actually have the fitness results, the body composition, the history, the rankings, fat loss goals, the values that we set, along with activity levels, and our health metrics for waist shape, circumference, waist to hip ratio, history, the risk levels here, and the goals that we have set. So all of this information shows up in the PDF and can be given to a customer or printed out and brought into a consultation to talk about these risks or to set up a plan for getting in shape. It's a very powerful feature. Additionally, if someone has a 3D program where they need to visualize, we have a couple of universal export formats for 3D objects as well. All right. Someone had asked me yesterday to show how we can analyze shape before and after, and I wanted to point out that the split screen view does a good job of this. I can actually maximize this to show split screen like this, a nice easy view to see. We also have a profile and silhouette view, which will overlay the scans on top of each other. So if I set one scan here and one scan here, what I end up with is an overlay view that shows the shape of the body. I can show this in front view or side view to see the comparison of how those waistlines are trimming, how the girths are changing with one body on top of the other. So it's a useful feature to be able to explain and explore this with your clients. All right, I'm going to go back here. And that is the general overview of the software. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat to some questions. So if you have any questions, please write them in the chat and I'll address them. Someone has asked if the presentation is being recorded, and the answer is yes, we are recording this on WebEx. So if you go to the WebEx meeting after the presentation, it takes about 5 minutes, but the recording will be there. You can take a look at it again. I'm going to go ahead and show the hardware specifications again, just so you can get an idea. If you're interested in learning more, or if you are interested in purchasing a MyBodee scanner, you can reach out to us at info@spegu.com. I'm going to go ahead and type that into the chat here. That's our email address. Any questions or information that you'd like, just shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to answer them. And again, I'm going to put the link to the YouTube video here in the chat as well. So if you want to look at that later for how to do a scan, you can take a look there. Someone has asked, can you make avatar predictions to see how somebody would look after losing weight? That's something that we do not currently do. You would have to scan somebody before and then scan them after to be able to see the results. However, with our health and fitness features, you can actually get an idea of their risk if they follow the plan, as well as their fitness level if they follow the plan to achieve their weight loss goals. Someone has asked, does the software come in other languages? That is something we're working on for next year. We are exploring other options for multiple languages. Currently, it's available only in US English. And in terms of the software itself, right now it runs on Windows 8. And to do a capture requires an OK strength computer. So you can see here that we've got some computer requirements listed below in order to do the processing and registration of the scans. That's what we have right now, but we're always interested in looking for more feedback on how to improve the software. So. Someone has asked, for the fitness tool, what standards are they based on? And I have to remember what they're called. I believe one of them is called ACE. We actually use a couple of standards, and for body fat composition and fat loss, fat mass, we actually use a variety of industry standard values for determining that. If I go to the Home tab here and I scroll up, I can actually see that we use several different body fat calculations here. We use features or body fat calculations done by the U.S. Army and Navy. We've got them based on BMI. We've got a couple others there. You may have heard of some of these. We've taken all of these values and we've determined our own body fat calculation using those other metrics to determine a general value for body fat percentage. So these are all industry standard body fat calculations that use information about the shape and the size of the body to come up with those compositions. Someone has asked about our handheld mode, which is they're asking if we can use a tablet to capture. That is something that we have done in the past, and actually the tools are still available in the software. So if you wanted to connect a sensor to a tablet and then walk around the person rather than using a turntable, it is something that is possible. An interesting side note here is that next year is looking to be a banner year for depth sensors. We've got rumors and information from our partners in many large companies that they're starting to put depth sensors into tablets and cell phones so that people everywhere can capture. And that's something that we're staying ahead of the curve on. We have partnerships with large companies who are sending us devices that we're testing to be able to capture the body, to be able to capture faces, feet, other body parts, and extract valuable information using a portable handheld device rather than one on a stand. So I think you're going to see next year, if I can make a prediction, depth sensing technology is really going to take off and is going to be a really exciting time for all of us. Someone's asking about accuracy. All of the sensors have good accuracy that we've used. The Connect is one of the best, and like I said earlier, we have a 30 to 40% increase in precision with the Connect V2 sensor, so we're very excited about that. It came out just a few months ago, and it's quite a good sensor. Other sensors are also accurate, and we do a good job of defining heuristics based on the different sensors to calculate precise measurements. So, yeah. Someone's asked what type of clothing we recommend people wear during a scan. And like I mentioned before, this is infrared light, so it doesn't actually look through clothing. So we recommend that women wear yoga pants or leggings and a sports bra for the upper part of the body. Really, it needs to be form-fitting clothing that doesn't have any baggy areas in it so that the measurements can be calculated accurately. For men, we suggest like bike shorts. They can be worn over the underwear just to make sure that we've got a good, accurate shape of their body. Someone's asked if the presentation related to the clothing features of this software is still available. It is, and I can link you to it, maybe. Let's see. These links for the recordings of these meetings should be public. So if you just share the link with someone, they should be able to view it as well. I believe this is the link to the clothing. Let's just make sure here. Yeah. So I believe this is the link to the clothing presentation from yesterday. So if you'd like to watch that. What we did in that presentation is we actually looked at body measurements taken specifically for custom clothing. So we actually have tools built into the software to create garment specifications for different garments. I made a jacket during the session, and I was able to show how we can take lengths and widths and add in what we call eases to determine garment measurements from the body measurements. It also ties in with CAD systems and can be given to a pattern maker to develop custom clothing for the people that you scan. So it's a pretty interesting technology from that point of view as well. And if you're interested in more info about that, just shoot me an email at info@steiku.com and we can send you some more information about that. So here's the jacket that I created actually on a different scan, now showing up on this person's scan, size to fit her. So we've added in all the eases and stuff that's required and put those together with her body measurements to determine how this jacket will fit. And we can also make alterations. It's another nice feature of the clothing tab. So if I need something to be a little longer, say, I can just grow it. Oops. Let's say 1 inch, and it'll actually grow right on the screen. So there you go. Someone asks which file formats work with electronic medical records, and that's a really good question. If you're going to be doing a medical record that you want to keep track of regularly or store into a table, I would recommend working with our CSV format. I can export one now. Let's take a look at it. CSV is an Excel-compatible format, and what you get are columns that have the value on the key on the left and the value on the right, and then the units in the third column. So what you can do here is you can parse this information store it into your own database or your own tables through whatever CMS you have and be able to retrieve those. So it would require maybe a little bit of development to sync it with your medical record system, but this is a really open format that most software are familiar with to be able to import the data. So you don't necessarily have to use a PDF because that one is not very open. You can use a CSV to get the data out. So, all right.
È finito, praticamente è finito.
Does anybody else have a question?
No.
All right. If nobody else has a question, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you very much for attending. Again, if you need any more information, you can go to our website. I'm going to put that in the chat. It's steiku.com or MyBodee for the MyBodee software. And if you ever want to have a personal conversation or if you need some other questions answered, you can reach us at info@steiku.com. Someone had one more question, which was, can you overlay the images versus side-by-side? Actually, we have an overlay view which uses outlines, but it's side-by-side for looking at before and after of the meshes. We actually tried with having them overlaid, but it was very difficult to see the difference. Unlike a DEXA scan where we end up with kind of a flat image that we can look at, the 3D body is a little bit hard to see where one starts and the other stops, so we've actually not included that in the software. We found that this is a more valuable tool to see the outlines of the body overlaid and to see a side-by-side for the 3D. So, good question, though. All right, any other questions from anybody? All right, thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any questions, you can reach me by email. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.